Never will I turn my mind to do anything which reminds me not of thee. I will abhor nightmares of ignorant acts. I will love dreams of noble achievements. I will love all dreams of goodness, for they are thy dreams. I may dream many dreams, but I am ever awake thinking of thee. In the sacred fire of constant remembrance burning on my soul's altar, I will ever behold thy face with my ever watchful eyes of love. Through thy grace, I know that health and sickness, life and death are but dreams. When I finish my dream story of good dreams and awaken behind the world-painted screen of delusion, I will behold thee as the only reality. So once upon a time, in a very far-off land, many, many years ago, there was a pencil maker. And he was making these pencils and filling up this box. And there was one pencil that the last pencil he was going to. And he imagined that this pencil was real. And he said, there are 5 things I would like you to know before going out into the world. And please remember these 5 things and never forget them, and you will become the best pencil you can ever be. The first one, you'll be able to do many great things, but only if you're willing to put yourself in someone else's hands. At times, you'll experience a painful sharpening. But no, this will make you a better pencil. The most important part is what is on the inside. And in every service you are called, you must make your mark. And remember, you'll be able to correct any mistakes that you make along the way. So please remember these 5 things, said the pencil maker, and you will live a life of love and purpose. So today we're calling on all truth seekers that we all know that God is our maker. There was a devotee that was asked once, that was, she was transitioning and she was getting ready to pass over, and her friend came to her and said, are you afraid? And are you afraid to meet your maker? And she said, no, it's the other guy I'm afraid of. But God is our maker, and he wants us to go beyond the human experience and be the best devotee we can be, to relate on a soul level. And these 5 truths of the pencil maker really resonate with the essence of self-realization. So in the first one, you'll be able to many things, but only if you're willing to put yourself in God and Guru's hands. God and Guru is always trying to get through to us. To the extent of our receptivity, our openness, God and Guru will come. Master said, I don't care about your mistakes. I care about your indifference. So let's receive these pearls of wisdom today. Notice, as really opening up our capacity to really allow the truths, raising our consciousness more and more. Swami Kriyananda said, Yogananda talked to our souls, right? Directly to our souls, he said. And those who teach on behalf of Ananda should remember this truth. People will understand based on their own maturity, understanding, and receptivity. And I thought it's just like that little bird in the festival, right? What he thought was light, what was but darkness. And he had to see, I think this is a great idea. And then eventually he had to see, wait a minute, that's not the highest ideal. That maybe my human self saw this, but when he related on a higher level, on a soul level, that receptivity came, and he saw that he could move into an aspect much higher than that, the aspect of light. And just like that little bird, we're all moving through these stages of development to come into that freedom of redemption. And so I love a quote by St. Francis. He said, "Preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words." So the second great truth is you may experience painful sharpening, which is what we do on the spiritual path. We know we have to embrace difficulties. We have to embrace it for truth. And Yogananda shared a beautiful story of rabbits in the garden. And there were two devotees, and each one of them was dedicated to their garden. And they planted these amazing fruits and vegetables and flowers, and they loved it, and they watered it, and they prayed with it, and they enjoyed it. And one day, some bunnies got in, and they really enjoyed the smorgasbord of all of it. And the first devotee, we begin to see the difference, right? The first devotee said, "I give up. I don't want to do this anymore. God has failed me." And the second one said, "I planted this beautiful garden, but truth be told, I need to make sure that it's safe, and I need to put in a new boundary. I will plant again." And Yogananda said, devotees who understand that the path to God is all about never giving up, that failures are just stepping stones to success. And so number 3 of our great lesson for today, one of these great truths, the more we resonate, the more we mature, the more we become spiritually advanced, these truths of self-realization permeate our minds and hearts and soul. We begin to live them. They become a natural part of who we are. These 8 aspects of God that Yoganandaji gave us, we can look back each year and say, on special days like your birthday, a birthday is like an anniversary, a day of like, am I more in love? Am I more in truth, right? Am I more in peace, in my calmness? Is the power of Om moving through me? The light in my life, is it brighter than ever? Is the wisdom coming through? More and more do I have that receptivity to listen to Guru's wisdom and allow it to infiltrate my body and send it out into the world with great love. The purification of our heart is what transcends our ego consciousness. And I had a really great example of that on Friday. I had an early morning call from my brother who was really distraught and really behind. His wife went through so many physical problems last year, and they have been tested in such an amazing way. And I'm so proud of them for never leaving each other. They stayed so connected, so teammate, but financially they needed some more help. And so he called me that morning, and it sent me off. Like I was like, okay, and I hung up, but then I just felt this wound within me was triggered. And I tried so many things. I tried to go meditate. I tried to do everything. And Susan gave me some counseling on the phone for a while and all of it. But then I tuned in, and when I was studying holistic psychology, one of the things we did was rebirthing. And so I got in my tub with my snorkel, and I breathed, did my breath work, because when you're doing it with a snorkel, you can't interrupt the breath, which delays the process of creating like a momentum, right? And so I went into that wound, and I just let it feel, and I just saw it was all about God. And what a priceless thing. I should have gave my brother a lot more money, because this was worth a lot, this beautiful gift, because the other side of it was an attunement to God in a whole other way. And I know my prayer will be, my prayer has been, please God, attune me to thee, but I'm going to add to it, help me to rise above this human experience. The human in me was all about like, am I going to have enough? Is it going to be okay? This is so hard. But the higher part of me was like, it's money. Money is energy. But it was really about that there was a little girl in me that still needed to be freed from this hurt, from this wound, from this old karmic imprint from my childhood. And after that, I was able to go into my studio and just meditate with such a beautiful heart. And then we had a beautiful anniversary celebration for Mariah, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But this beautiful, beautiful way that God comes to us and gives us our ideas is that receptivity, right? And oftentimes we have to really listen to really hear what we need. We have to have our hearts open in their purity of consciousness. And so to do that, though, we oftentimes have to clear out these old wounds, these old karmic things, you know? And so there's a beautiful story that Yogananda talked about in the chapter in Autobiography of a Yogi, the Bohemian Wonder Worker. And this is the story about the fakir. And a fakir is his name was Asal Khan, and he was from, I think it was Arabic, like an Arabian, like saint or whatever. Not a saint, but he was a good guy, right? So anyway, he was hanging out, and he met this amazing, beautiful Hindu guru, and the fakir was really, really humble and kind and loving, and this great saint said, you know, I would love to give you a boon. I see who you are. I see you have great karma. I see that you need to mitigate some old karma that really needs to get cleared and needs to get moved through good service. And so he gave him this great, great yogi technique. And in that technique, he was able to manifest, and he was able to come into the other realms and absorb and tune into how to manifest and help materialize for beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people who needed, you know, support, financial support, or they had illnesses or whatever it might be. But his job was to really go into the world and he dedicated 20 years to this humanitarian service, and amazing, helpful miracles with a widespread attention throughout the world. He was helping people to have food and to get health and to transform ego consciousness. It was so, so beautiful. But that karma came up. And instead of staying with keeping in his heart and keeping in God consciousness and keeping up his practices, that ego came in. And Sri Yukteswar tells the story of meeting the fakir who actually was a thief, fake fakir. You know, he wasn't living his truth. And so Sri Yukteswar went to visit him because he did have a beautiful reputation, and his watch was stolen. And the fakir told, you have to go get 500 rupees if you want your watch back. So this guy had come into some darkness, and he came back and he paid for his watch that it was already his. The fakir, said Sri Yukteswar, was not a man of inner light or divine consciousness. Beneficial miracles are performed by saints who attune themselves to the omnipresent Creator. He lost that attunement. And we all do in little ways, but more and more we just keep coming back to opening our hearts, to attuning to the love, to all the beautiful gifts that the gurus have for us. But eventually the fakir saw the falsehood of his inner life. And so one day he was walking down a dirt road, and he saw this old man who was just walking, and he had a limp, and he said to the fakir, please heal me, I need some help. I have only this one piece of gold, but it's my only thing I have in the world. And there was darkness in his heart, and he was able to take that gold from the man and continue. And then in a moment, that man was transformed, and it was the Hindu yogi. It was the great saint who had given him the gift in the first place. He said, my gold is gone. After this disguise was lifted, he materialized in this beautiful light. Don't you recognize me? I withdraw your yogi gifts. Your inner darkness overpowered your wish to help the suffering. And the fakir, he knew in his heart that he needed to abolish this My Guru, thank you for banishing my long delusion. I promise to forsake my worldly habits and return to the mountains and meditate in God and seek forgiveness in the cosmic beloved. And so this is what all of us are doing. The ego is the transformer of darkness. The ego is who brings us into light. Once when Babaji was asked, why can't you help bring the darkness in this world? We need you to do something. Please intercede. And Babaji said, no, my job is to bring in the light. And the light always overpowers the darkness. And that's what we have to remember. When hard things happen, we find our way back to the light. It's always there waiting for us. We have to dare to be different, dare to be free. We are asked to develop the real of self-realization, our authenticity, our authentic beingness, our authentic truth, and to go on alone, even if it goes against everyone else. Because this is the fourth one, is in every service that you are called, you have to make your mark, right? You have to write your story in a higher, new way. Swami Kriyananda said, go on alone, even if it goes against everyone else. The lower self needs to be transformed, not defended. Don't be a yes man, he said. Be you. And it reminded me after, on Friday evening, we had the first anniversary of a good friend of ours. Susan and I hosted at my house an evening to remember Mariah, someone we really, truly loved. And all her friends came, and her family, her kids, and it was just a beautiful gathering, and we could feel her presence. Everyone was just, it was a magical, magical night where everyone was so uplifted. And we shared little stories. We went into my studio and we shared little stories about her. We set up an altar for her. And I remember her saying one of the last times we were together, we went to a friend of ours' funeral, and we were having dinner. It was Susan and my friend Meredith and Jane and Mariah, and we were having food. And I said, I wonder what people are going to say at our funerals, right? And so we had that conversation, and we all kind of went around and we said, they're going to say, you were the most amazing, creative, beautiful being, and you made such beauty in this world, and all these things, right? And Mariah's was so touching to me. She said, Kelly, you had the courage to be wild. You had the courage to be who you were, without apology. You allowed yourself to allow that part of yourself to come through. I said, no one has ever said that to me. And, I remember Swami Kriyananda, when someone went to him and they said, oh my God, there's all these hippies and they're acting out and they're all wild and crazy. And Swami said, we have to go through it all. You can't repress that stuff. You have to allow it to express, knowing that it's a purification in itself, that you need to let it go as you're coming back into your true self. It's through experiences that people grow and change. But remember, we're not about making excuses. We want to keep rising up into our truest self. But then I thought of another time where we're all at Spiritual Renewal Week, and we have, every time we go, we have a East Coast, table. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And Jaya was there, and Prem Shanti, I think Kyle was with me, and a bunch of different people. And Prem Shanti said, I was so worried about you. You were wild, right? Jane, you remember. And I remember Jaya saying she had enthusiasm. You can't, there's no way you can get enthusiasm. You just have to channel it upward, but there's no way you can produce enthusiasm. You just know that enthusiasm, just trust that it'll be channeled and it will move up into a higher way. And now I joke with her every time I see her. I'm like, from wild to mild. So this authenticity that we're talking about today, as we think about in every service, we have to make our mark. We have to live our best life. We have to do the best we can, and to make this world a better place. And Swami Satyananda told a story about when he was a little boy and the story of the broken shell. And so when he was a little boy, he had a dad who was telling the truth, but it was pretty harsh. It was pretty critical. It could be pretty negative. And he brought up a lot of anxiety in people. There was a darkness to it. And that harshness really hurt people. And he was feared and intimidated. And so he was intimidating. And except for his wise son, never was intimidated or afraid of him. And one day, the boy, he picked up this beautiful shell and smashed it on the floor. And the father was like, "What did you do? What is this all about?" And the boy said, "Do you think we could put it back together and make it whole again?" "Of course not." "Then why do you do this to other people's minds and hearts?" The little boy was wise. Became a great Swami. And because of his son's truthfulness, the father of Swami Satyananda transformed that day. Remember the most important quote in the autobiography, Yogi, says Yogananda, it was Sri Yukteswar saying, I talked about it last time, "Forget the past, the vanished lives of all men are filled with many shames until we are anchored in the divine." Right? So let's put our anchors down today, you guys. Each one of us, drop our anchors. Let us be held in God. Until we're anchored in the divine, make a spiritual effort now, and everything in the future will change. It's all we got to know. All we got to know. It's about rising above this human experience, as I really learned in my transformative water journey in the tub, this rebirthing experience. And, I thought about, I remember not too long ago, I told people, I was a floweraholic, a omaholic, but now I'm thinking I'm a floweraholic. So, and yet, what starts to happen is we start to know that this human experience, we can transform it by bringing in our inner life, a life of love, our inner meditation practice, but also creating an inner heaven within our own hearts, but also bringing that outward into the world. So when we really first honor our inner life, which is number 5, really honoring our inner life, that's when the fruits and flowers of our life really begin to bloom and blossom in our life. And remember, you will be able to correct all your mistakes along the way. And that's what happened. He was transformed from his son, because we can all have that opportunity. We all have that possibility. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. What I thought was light was really darkness. So let's all get ready to meet our Maker by putting ourselves in Guru's capable hands, growing through test and grace, keeping our daily meditation appointment without fail, priority of our inner life. Let us make our mark and know God will always be with us with love, even though we make mistakes along the way. And we're not a sister, we're not a mother, we're not a brother, we're not a teacher, we're not a yogi, and we're not a pencil. We're a child of God, and we have to act like one. So rise above the limited beliefs of this human experience and be the best you can be, and pray, help me to rise above this human experience and live with you. Om. Peace. Amen.
Please take what you would like to give, place it in your right hand, and repeat after me. Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
we offer to thee the fruit of our labors.
we offer to thee the fruit of our labors.
Bless this offering,
Bless this offering,
that it serve as a channel of light
that it serve as a channel of light
to truth-seeking souls everywhere.
to truth-seeking souls everywhere.
Okay, so we're going to sing Walk Like a Man, and this time I really did post it in the chat. Sorry, before. And I don't know what page it's on, but I think it's posted for you there in the church, in the yellow book.